Hello and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to look at science in a totally new light. We're going way beyond the flashy discoveries to dig into something, well, a little deeper. The whole process of discovery itself. It's not just about the what we know, but the how we get there. And, maybe most importantly, the why it matters. I mean, think about it for a second. When you hear the word scientist, what pops into your head? Is it someone in a white lab coat just kind of checking boxes off a list? Is science really that simple? Just a straight line from A to B? Well, we're here to argue it's so much more than that.
Because, see, according to this way of thinking, science isn't a final destination you arrive at. It's a becoming. It's this ongoing, never-ending journey of growth and transformation. It's a deep conversation with the world. All right, let's dive into how this all works.
So, here's our game plan. First up, we'll talk about science as a journey. Then we'll get into these 6 dimensions of growth and the climate needed for discovery. From there, we'll walk through the 5 levels of transformation and we'll wrap it all up by returning to the why.
Okay, Section 1, Science as a Journey. This is all about making the shift from just being a technician to becoming a true explorer.
You know, the main idea here is that if you really want to understand those big scientific breakthroughs, you can't just look at the final answer. You need a completely different kind of map, one that shows you the deeper motivations, the thinking, the mindset. It lets you see the actual human story that's hiding behind all the data.
On to Section 2, the 6 dimensions of growth, which we're going to call the KTAS framework. Now, to get this, I want you to picture a huge ancient tree. It doesn't just grow straight up, right? It expands outward in these incredible living spiraling rings. While that tree is the perfect metaphor for the kind of scientific growth we're talking about.
So what is this KTAS thing? Well, it's a framework that breaks down the scientific process into 6 core parts that are all connected. Think of it like the skeleton, the actual form and bone of development. And honestly, this isn't just for scientists. It's really for anyone trying to go deep in any field.
And here they are: knowing, thinking, expressing, acting, sensing, and systemizing. Now let me be clear, this is not a checklist. These aren't separate skills you just master one by one. No, they're like a living ecosystem where every part depends on the others. You need all of them working together for real growth to happen.
I want to pause on one of these because it's so fascinating. Sensing. And we're not talking about your 5 physical senses here. This is a much deeper kind of perception. It's that ability to really tune in to what is actually happening in the data, in the lab, especially when it goes against all your plans.
This quote just nails it. Sensing is the courage to dare to put aside what was scheduled to make room for what is actually happening. That one thing is what keeps science from becoming this, this silent bubble of theory. It's how a scientist notices that one weird little anomaly that ends up leading to a massive breakthrough.
Okay, Section 3, the climate for discovery. So if KTEAS is our tree, the structure of growth, what kind of environment does that tree need to actually thrive? That's where the PECC philosophy comes in. This isn't the structure anymore. This is the climate. This is what nourishes the very soul of science.
The PEC climate is really built on 4 big ideas. Together, they create an atmosphere that pushes us to ask bigger questions. Questions like, is my work actually grounded in real-world experience? Am I taking personal responsibility for how it's used? Am I creating knowledge with people instead of just for them? And am I checking my own biases to make sure my work is fair?
Which brings us to Section 4, the 5 levels of transformation. Now that we have our KTAS tree and our PEC climate, we can actually start to map out this journey of growth. And it happens across 5 transformative levels.
And this is so important. This is not a ladder you have to climb step by step. It's a map. It's a tool for you to look at and figure out where you are on your own journey and to see all the possible paths ahead. You might jump between levels. You might go back to an earlier one for a bit, and that's all totally fine. It's part of the process.
So here's the map. The whole journey can start with the technician and evolve all the way to the steward of the ecosystem. Each of these levels is a huge shift in mindset. You go from just, doing tasks correctly
to literally shaping the culture of an entire field of science.
Let's just compare two of these for a second so you can see how big the shift is. At level 1, you've got the technician. Their focus is all about doing things right, mastering the procedures. It's absolutely essential, but it can also feel a little stuck. Now, jump over to level 4, the community weaver. Their focus has just exploded outward. They're not just doing their own research anymore, they are actively building the entire ecosystem for discovery by connecting people and ideas from all over.
And that brings us to our final section, returning to the why. We've looked at the tree of growth, the climate for discovery, we've even mapped the journey. So now, let's bring it all home and ask, what is the real point of all this?
I just love this quote. It captures everything so beautifully. Science isn't some linear race to a finish line. It's a circular dance. It's about constantly, reflectively coming back to the reasons you started in the first place, back to that curiosity, that passion. So the ultimate destination of this journey is really an evolution. We might start by learning how to do science right, focusing on all the correct methods, but the journey invites us to move beyond that, to eventually do science with truth. And that's a deeper kind of truth, one of integrity, responsibility, and real connection to the world.
And that leaves us with one final, big idea to think about. What if this whole journey, this whole process of scientific growth, isn't just about finding some objective truth out there in the world? What if the real purpose of science is about becoming true? True to ourselves, true to our communities, and true to the world that we all share.